What up, y'all? Welcome back to the Woman's Hustle, Thrills and Spills of Entrepreneurship. It's your girl, Coach K. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. Before I get started, because today's episode is going to be so amazing, thank all the guests that have been here so far that have been dropping so many gems, expertise, but also sharing their thrills and spills. Make sure that you have subscribed to the channel. Make sure you share this with a fellow entrepreneur. There are episodes here for all of us on every level of our journeys. So today's episode is going to be no different. I love vibing with women who are leading us, who are empowering us. And I have an amazing guest here that is doing just that. So I'm going to allow her the honors of introducing herself. Hello.
Hello, Coach K. Good to see you. Thanks for
You
having
as
me.
well. Thanks for coming and blessing the Woman's Hustle. Please let the listeners know who you are and what you do, baby.
Absolutely. Well, I'm Ashira D. Jones. I'm the CEO and executive coach at Perfect 10 Coaching. I'm based in the DC area, but originally from Omaha, Nebraska. I always have to shout out Omaha. And anytime anyone asks where I'm from, and I've been in business for myself for almost exactly 4 years. And matter of fact, I had my anniversary about a week ago.
Woo, woo, woo. I love it. Well, happy business versary, 4-year business versary. I love it. That's huge.
Thank you.
That's huge, especially on this journey that we're on. So super shout out to you for continuing to align with the mission. So we're going to have some fun today. So you
Absolutely.
guys sit back, buckle up. We are going to dive in all about what we do, but also help how we can help you in your areas as well. So I want to ask you first and foremost, what inspired you to create Perfect 10 Coaching?
I was actually inspired to create Perfect 10 Coaching because I started a resume writing business. So, rewind probably 15 years. I was working at a nonprofit where I was helping students of color in college with their professional development and kind of getting them ready for corporate internships. So
Nice.
I had a very specific skill around all the things professional development, but particularly resume writing. So I was like, I should start a little side hustle and make some money. And once I started providing that as a service, it's kind of addictive. It's a lot of fun. I learned a lot about different people's industries. And that's when I first learned that there's nothing more powerful than getting a check in the mail from something that you created something I created myself. Like, oh, I did this thing. I got this check that it's very empowering. So it all started as a resume writing business, just as a side hustle. At one point, I decided, oh, I should add coaching as a service as well. Mind you, I didn't really know anything about formal coaching. I was not certified. At that point, I didn't know you could get certified. But eventually, and this is a different part of the story as I was working on my MBA and really not enjoying that process. That's when I learned about the Coaches Training Institute, where I ended up going to get my coaching certification. Keep in mind, all this time, I'm still working my normal
Right.
full-time role, but I kind of created Perfect 10 Coaching on the side because one thing that I loved about CTI, Coaches Training Institute, is that they encourage everyone that's going through certification to charge for coaching, no matter what.
Come on.
All right. So I could have charged $1 a session. I could have charged $500 a session. It doesn't matter. But they wanted to get us into the practice of charging for our services. And so was born Perfect 10 Coaching. So that was many years ago. Like I said, it started as a side hustle. And eventually, and we can talk more about this, grew into my full-time role.
Period. I love it because this is one of the things that I know talking with women that they talk about a lot. They want to step into full-time entrepreneurship. They're in the corporate spaces, but they have that like fire in the back of their head, like, I want to do these things. So you are like the walking example of that.
Absolutely.
And I love it because I also really didn't know about coaching too much, but I was always like that unofficial coach. Did you ever find yourself like being that unofficial person that people coming to talk to, like, hey, you give an insight and you like, so there's really actual avenues out here where I can become certified in these things. So I love that you
Yeah.
took that journey, but also stepped into things full time. And I know we kind of, dabble in the same things, especially when it comes to women in leadership and things like that. But I would love for you to share, like, was there like a limited belief that you feel like you had to kind of unlearn to kind of fully
Mm,
step into doing what you do full time?
oh my gosh. There are many. there, there there are many. But you know what? As I'm thinking about this question, I have to share that I never really wanted to be an entrepreneur. Like if we're going
You
back,
talking to me? You
growing
sound like
up,
me.
right? It's so true though. I didn't want to be an entrepreneur. And
Yeah,
part of the reason for that is I grew up in a low income household. And so I was very excited to go to college, get the degree, and then get that job where I knew I was going to get a predictable check every
right.
2 weeks. That's what I wanted. And um, that didn't work out for me. Like that, I never felt like I really belonged in that traditional corporate atmosphere, that corporate environment.
Yeah,
So maybe the thing that I had to unlearn is that the traditional career path is not the path. And that was a
ain't
hard
like that.
it was a hard lesson cuz a lot of us, we grew up and our parents, encourage us get the degree and get a good job and work hard, work more than hard, treat people right, and everything is going to fall into a place for you to have your
Mm,
American dream. And so I really had to go through a lot of knocks and a lot of anxiety and a lot of challenging situations on the job for me to finally learn the lesson like, okay, Ashira, you can keep trying to go down this path, this traditional path, and keep getting knocked down and frustrated and anxious, or you can finally kind of switch that belief and embrace the fact that there are other ways.
yes.
And it
Oh,
doesn't mean that it's not, those other paths are not challenging.
right.
They're challenging in a more fulfilling way, I would say. So that's a big one that I had to unlearn. And then also as an entrepreneur, let me say, as an introverted entrepreneur,
Mm,
as an introverted human, I never really wanted to, put myself out there and take up space and go on podcasts and post on social media all
come
the
on.
time. So I had to maybe unlearn the belief that like just being small, playing
Yeah,
small and kind of being quiet and working hard, but
yeah,
doing it from the background. Maybe my belief was like all that hard work is just going to speak for itself and life is going to be exactly how I wanted it to be. But as you grow, you learn that you kind of have to break out of that shell or that old skin, however you want to say it, so that you can get to the next level. So I could we can make a whole episode just
hey,
about beliefs. Like
that part.
seriously.
No, seriously though, it is because I love talking about beliefs because for one, and I love that you touched on that. We had the belief of there was only one way to be successful, right? So you speaking on that is a lot of the times the conversations that we have, oh, this is what we're supposed to do, but you always had that little itch in the back like, this just ain't for me, but I'm still
Always.
going to stick with the societal stigmas of this is what I'm supposed to be doing for that American dream.
Must be right,
Yep.
right? Like
Yeah.
that.
And so it's like just being able to admit that and actually be accountable and say, you know what? I'm going to get a little louder here. I'm going to
Mm,
grow. I love to talk about growth, mindset transformation, because that is one of the key things that we do have to embrace in order for us to be the best versions of ourselves. Not what somebody else thinks we're supposed to be doing, but what it is, what we are wanting to do with our life. And that does require self reflection, really sitting down and having that uncomfortable conversation with yourself, but also those close to you, because they're probably not going to be like, well, why are you doing that? They probably, I know when I decided to become a coach, people were like, a coach? Their facial expression was like, huh? Like
why would you do that? What is
that
that? Who
part.
who does that? I never heard of that before.
So, and it's like, okay, I understand that, but I'm still doing it. And there were so many times where I was ready to just give up simply because those around me didn't understand.
Mm,
And I'm so glad that I chose to continue to move forward because now I can, for one, my life experience is actually a part of me being able to teach others how to be able to step into that for themselves. So,
exactly, exactly. And I kind of like, I'm having a couple thoughts as you said that. And the first is when you have a vision of creating something that other people don't understand,
mhm,
it's okay. Like, as a matter of fact, not only is it okay, that's, I think, where the juice is. That's where the magic is. That's where the good stuff is. It's like, okay, I'm in this space where I want to create something other people don't understand. Fine. It's not their vision. They don't have to understand. They're
Tell them
not
again,
supposed to
please.
understand. Right. And that's like where the coach comes in. Had I had a coach like myself going back to undergrad, working on this degree that I felt like this is practical, I will be employable. Had I had a coach back then, I would have probably taken a very different path.
Yeah.
Because in retrospect, that management information systems degree, don't get me wrong, like, a degree is great to have, but it was
Right.
not going to end well. Me going into corporate America was not necessarily going to end well. And so if
Yeah.
I had a coach back then to really help me reflect and get clear on my values and figure out what path are you on, but what do you really want, and kind of resolve those things, oh my gosh, I would have saved myself so much grief. And
Say it again.
so it's really a privilege to be that person
Yeah.
for other people.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. And I think it's just so important. Like, you walking in purpose. A purpose is like one of the pillars of upgraded mindsets. I am big on purpose. I probably don't a day go by where I'm not talking about it in some way, shape, or form. But I do want to ask you, like, how do you balance like honoring your mission and your purpose with like protecting your energy in those leading spaces? Because people definitely try to test our gangster. Let's be real. They definitely try to test our gangster. So I would love for you to share with the audience kind of how you kind of balance those things.
So you're asking, how do I protect my peace and
Yep.
hold my boundaries? You know what? That has actually gotten a lot easier for me. I think much earlier in life and earlier in my career, when I was trying to get ahead and make all the money and prove my worth, show my worth to other people, my boundaries were very porous. Especially like when early in my career, when you first get those first few jobs and
Yep.
you just want to prove yourself, like, I won't let you down. You should be so happy that you hired me. So I was just working all the time.
Yeah.
Um, and doing all the things that maybe I wasn't even like shouldn't have been doing or wasn't qualified to. I was just like all in. And don't get me wrong, there's some benefits to that,
Yeah.
but now I'm very focused on trying to operate in my zone of strengths. Okay. So I don't want to necessarily like do all the balancing of my books and my tax strategy planning and all of these other things that are kind of like outside. I want to have an understanding of them, but I want to make sure that I'm focusing my very precious limited energy in the right
I
places.
love that you said that. I love
So,
that you said that. One thing that you just said, and I want to touch on that for a little bit, is knowing the ecosystem of your business, but
mm,
not operating it, right? As entrepreneurs, and this is on every level, because one thing that I kind of get sometimes is, especially as women, is that we have to tackle the brunt of everything by ourselves.
in life,
Starting up, yeah, that part,
you
period.
know?
You know what I'm saying? Like that is like a stigma that I have strived for the last 5 years to advocate against, not just from business perspective, because I didn't start off as a business coach. I started off just as a life coach, wanting to help women step into the best versions of themselves, because that was the journey that I was walking. But sometimes when it comes to entrepreneurship, when we have these businesses that we want to start, we feel like that out the gate we have to tackle everything on our own. I had to learn, and I had to learn the hard way, because I had that mindset, oh, I can do everything. And it probably hindered me and restricted me a lot from the growth perspective, because I was trying to do everything, and therefore I was getting burnt out. I wasn't doing everything how it should be, wasn't applying stuff. Like when I finally started outsourcing small things, and the reason why I wanted to make this point is because you don't have to start off outsourcing everything.
Right.
You
Right.
can start off with one thing. Start with the main thing that you cannot stand to do. Let's start outsourcing that, nickel and diamond, until you get the outsource to where you're able to just operate in your business. I want to get to the point for me where I am just being able to go to speak, to be able to podcast, to be able to
All
just
that.
put all of that, and everything else is being handled by somebody else. And I'm not there yet. I'm very transparent. Everybody knows that. But that's my goal. I just want to be able to get in speaking rooms, motivate, podcast, uplift, and be done.
Absolutely. As you should. And I love that you have that vision for yourself, because some people that want to start a business will hear that and be like, oh my gosh, that's so audacious. Like, I can't imagine being able to just do the thing that I love to do. Like, who am I to dare dream such a dream?
That
But
part.
it's all possible, and it's a process. It is
It is.
totally a process. When I first went out on my own full time, I was doing everything and I was working around the clock. And there were things that I should have been doing that I didn't even
Right.
know. I had so many blind spots because my priority is like, am I having enough income to pay my rent? Okay, cool. Do I have enough income to pay my rent and put some money away? Okay, cool. Do I have enough rent to now make sure I'm saving for my tax bill that's going to come? Okay, cool. There are levels to it, and you have to just progress as your business progresses. You learn as your business grows. You learn more as you connect with other entrepreneurs that have better knowledge of these things, that so you can't like harshly judge yourself for what you don't know. I rather celebrate myself for the courage I had to do it in the first place,
Yeah.
and really appreciate, okay, now I know. When you know better, you can do
You do
better.
better. Woo, straight like that. Straight like that. I want to touch on for a few seconds what you said about like basically being surrounded around other entrepreneurs, but putting yourself in the room with other entrepreneurs, because this is also one of the main pain points that I talk with women too, is because we want those close to us to be our biggest supporters, our biggest motivators. They're just supposed to understand, and we get frustrated and we hinder ourselves because they don't. How did that kind of work for you stepping into this space full time when it came to like the support aspect? And like, what did that look like for you?
I feel so lucky in terms of those in my circle to support me. And part of that stems back to my certification training through
Yeah.
CTI. So I did that back in like 2011,
Okay.
2012, and I'm still in contact with a lot of the
I
people that were
love
in my
it.
certification class. And they have just been amazing, and several of them have also quit their full-time jobs after they got certified and went out on their own. So I had a little bit of visibility into other people that were already on the journey,
I love it.
and then it was really easy for me to just reach out and be like, okay, let's have a monthly meeting to talk about, what are you working on, what am I working on, what do we want to hold each other accountable for. Hey, I have this challenge that came up around trying to collect my money, or how should I write this contract, or how help me with this proposal. So I just luckily have probably 5 or 6 people in my circle that I can reach out to at any time for anything. And it's reciprocal.
Yeah.
I they can reach out to me as well. So it's been very, very incredibly helpful. If you are working your network properly, it's going to continue to grow
Straight
exponentially,
up.
because each of those 5 people are like, oh, you should talk to this person. You should talk to that person. I'm working with or connecting with a coach right now who I met through a totally different coach who's helping me out with my marketing plan for my business. So it's just been such a treat if you allow yourself to open up to
It
others
is.
and be vulnerable and just give yourself permission to be supported. One thing that I hear a lot from my clients, and you might hear this too, is to keep your dreams like close to your chest. Like, keep them close. Don't tell anybody. They will try to pull you down, or they'll tell you everything that you won't be able to do. And I have a very different perspective. I want to share my dreams, my goals with people so they can
Yeah.
help me.
That
And,
part.
it doesn't mean that I'm like sharing every single detail of
Right.
life with every person.
Exactly.
but you should curate your inner circle so you can actually talk about money, talk about actual dollar amounts. Like, what are you charging? What are you aspiring to,
Yeah.
earn in your business? These are things that, again, that's another belief that I had to unlearn, that you don't talk about your finances or your money.
Yes.
Talk about it. Like, how
Talk
else can you
about it.
learn?
Be open. I love
Yeah,
that. I love that you have had a level of support for all those years. It's critical. And I'm glad that you talked about that you guys still have that level with each other, because this is what I try to pound in people's head. You need community to build.
absolutely.
Whether it's a personal build, whether it's an entrepreneurial build, you need some form of community. You need tribes. There could be different tribes. I have different levels of tribes. I have fellow
Hmm.
coaches. I have fellow entrepreneurs. I have fellow women. I have my own community that I offer with growth over everything. So, but trust and believe, as much as I'm giving it to them, I'm getting it back. And that
Absolutely.
has been so pivotal in my success and my continuing success. And I just want women to understand that that's something that we have to do, whether you are in leadership, whatever aspect of the entrepreneurial journey you are on, you need to become open minded to receive some form of support from people that may not be automatically in that direct circle right now. Find your
Exactly.
circle, build
Yeah.
that circle.
Yep.
I think
Yep.
that's super important. It's probably one of the most critical moments. I've seen people where they have completely given up on business because their family hasn't supported them, or
Mm.
they don't, they get the biggest level of imposter syndrome and there's nobody there to encourage them to come out of that.
Hmm.
So I
Hmm.
think that that's super important. And I love that you have that. Shout out to your tribe. So I think that that's super
Absolutely.
dope.
Yeah.
I want to ask you, what do you feel are some non-negotiables that you would recommend for building the presence and leading with intention? Because we were on that journey, and I love asking this question because I feel like our lived experience has helped that. So I'd love for you to share, what do you feel like some of the non-negotiables are for building the presence and leading with purpose and intention?
Non negotiables for leading with presence. Non negotiable is authenticity. Love looking to see what other people are doing and how they're doing it. I want to be inspired by it, but I don't want to copy it. And this goes back to, again, the beginning of my career where I was like, all right, society has laid out this blueprint for how I should be successful. And it's easy to also duplicate that in terms of your brand and your business. It'd be like, oh, Coach K is doing XYZ. Maybe I'll just try doing it like that. And maybe that's just not my thing, not my vibe. It could be whoever. So I want to look to people like you, and I want to be inspired and say, okay, well, what can I take from that will be helpful to me,
Right.
but not be like, try to
In
follow
my way.
someone else's blueprint,
Yeah.
because I have to create my own. People will work with you or me or any entrepreneur because there's something about your authenticity that resonates with them. So
Period.
that's a non negotiable. And that's one reason why I haven't quite figured out how to like post on social media every single day. I'm not an everyday poster, so that's really hard for me. And
Yeah.
I'm admiring other people that do, like, oh my gosh, how can I get to that place?
Yeah.
So, authenticity is a big one. Also, when I think about building my presence, I think about making sure that I am resting and I'm not overfilling my schedule. Again, going back to the beginning of my entrepreneurial journey, I was like feeling the pressure, like, oh my gosh, how can I make this work? There's always something that needs to be done, even like in this second. But that kind of counteracts the freedom and the autonomy and the fun of running a business
Yeah.
when you feel like you have to be working for every single second of every day. I really try to make sure I'm resting, that I'm exercising. If it's a Wednesday at 1 o'clock and I don't have a meeting and I'm tired, I will take the nap,
Hey, I know that's
or
right.
I will go for the walk, or like whatever it is that I need.
Yeah.
So I really try to tune into my body and my intuition, and I try to block days for either like my own mental health day or for whatever I need. So another big non-negotiable for
I
me.
love it. I love it. And shout out to you for embracing that. I think that that's super important for us to understand that that balance is it's definitely a non-negotiable for me. My mental health is like my number one priority.
Mm,
And that involves being able to say, hey, I'm going to rest today. Hey, I'm going to chill. I'm going to make sure that I'm in alignment. I'm in attunement, and also recognizing the days that I'm not and being okay with that. Because
exactly.
that was one of the biggest things that I had to struggle. I always had that. I'm good. I'm good. I'm not good today. I'm
Right.
not good today.
Exactly.
And just being okay with that, whether it's business or personal, I am very open to admitting when there's something going on and just being that transparency, but also that vulnerability, I think is super critical. So
And that goes back to your circle, right? If I'm,
yes.
collaborating with one of my coach friends and we hop on a meeting, we're always checking in like, how are you? Like, I'm not great today.
Yep.
It's so nice to be able to say that and be honest and say to someone that understands, that cares, that will give me grace during that meeting or whatever. So I totally agree. It's like, let's just name things for what they are
Yep.
and stop faking it, because Lord knows we've all done enough of that.
Hey, straight like that. Straight like that. Because we get ready to wrap up here, and I have loved this conversation. Again, it has been so dope. But I just would love for you to share some insight and tell the women who knows that they're called to lead but hasn't owned their mission yet. What advice would you give them?
Start, do something, take a step forward. A baby step is still a step, and every little thing that we do towards building our mission, our calling, the life that we love, it all adds up. It's kind of like I have to tell myself, all right, I didn't like run 6 miles today, but I went for a 30-minute walk. It all adds up. So just know that there's so many of us doing this work like in a basement somewhere or at our kitchen table, and no one sees that stuff that's not sexy, but we are all grinding, doing what we can, and every little thing that you can do is going to help create the outcome.
Yes.
And also, like, I would just recommend anyone that wants to build a business or just achieve any sort of goal, get the support that you need, because if you have your own limiting beliefs that you haven't tackled yet, they will unconsciously direct wherever you're going, and it might not be in your favor. So, any unconscious beliefs, any doubts that you have, any imposter syndrome, navigating that is so foundational
Yeah.
to being audacious and having these big dreams. So, get whatever support you need to tackle that so that you can be truly freed up to
Yeah.
do your best work.
I love it. I love it. Great advice. Great advice. I have just loved this conversation. Please
Likewise.
let the listeners know where we can find you at on social, websites, all that good stuff.
Absolutely. You can connect with me on Instagram at ashira.d.jones, on LinkedIn at Ashira D Jones. There is one other Ashira Jones on LinkedIn, so I'm the one with the D. Check out my new website. It's ashirajones.com, where you can also subscribe to my brand new amazing newsletter that I'm super proud of. It's only coming out once or twice a month, so no spam, just good quality tips and
Hey.
guidance and insights about Perfect 10 coaching. So I would love to connect, and anyone that might be interested in partnering, whether it's one-on-one coaching, VIP facilitation, they can reach out to me via email, and I believe that's going to be in the show notes.
And definitely will. Listen, y'all, all of that will be in the show notes. I am just so in awe when I talk to my guests and just how they are implementing and leading and helping others do the same thing. We all have journeys. We all have the power to be the best versions of ourselves. But one thing I really will end this on is understanding that sometimes you will need someone to aid and assist, someone to keep you accountable, and also actionable, because we will get caught up and we will stay stuck in the stagnant, and then you're going to be across your bed crying about why you didn't start that business, why you didn't elevate, why you didn't hire that coach, why you didn't look into those resources, those master classes and stuff like that. Make sure that you are striving to be actionable and doing something towards building your brand and your business every single day. All right.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
I appreciate you guys for tuning in today. Again, if you have not subscribed, hopefully this episode convinced you to do so. Make sure you hit that subscribe and like the episode. Let us know what you thought of the episode. I love feedback. I respond to feedback. So please let me know what you thought. If you are interested in learning more about what Upgraded Mindsets offers, you can visit the website at upgradedmindsets.life. Join the Growth Over Everything community, which is a bunch of women who are there to support, lead, uplift, and empower each other in every way, shape, and form. I appreciate y'all so much for tuning in. Share this with your entrepreneurial people, all right? We'll holler back, y'all. Stay empowered.